Welcome, everybody. Welcome. My goodness, there's so much to celebrate this month. Juneteenth, Pride Month, the opening up of life again, for goodness sake, and the 8th anniversary of Poetry Street. 8 years ago, Susan Dingle and Bubby Brown put together a beautiful poetry venue at the Blue Duck Bakery in Riverhead. The mission was diversity. It was a smash hit, and we stayed at the bakery for 6 years till the bakery dam closed, and we struggled for a little while, but we have come back. We have found a home on Zoom. Something good had to come out of this year, right? So here we are, and we welcome you all to Poetry Street, the room without a roof where every voice is heard. Chip has been published in SBC magazine. He's a contributing writer to Oh, What a Ride, 50 Years in the Airline Trade Industry. And his poem, Thoughts of a Mongoose, was selected for publication in the Nassau County Poet Laureate Society Review 2020. You name it, Chip has done it, and here's the flyer. Okay, he is a director and co-host of Poetry Street, a writer of prose poetry and short stories. He is a photographer, videographer, filmmaker, documentarian, family historian, researcher, good listener, and relatable storyteller, and I can really vouch for that.
Thank you so much, Maggie. Happy Pride and happy Juneteenth. I am so happy to be featured today. Normally, I'm just the host, but today you're going to hear some of my poetry. I am excited even more that I get to share this room with Maggie Bloomfield, who is one of my heroes. The poem that I'm going to read talks about the beast that I conquer daily, which is my speech impediment. A lot of people have a beast. It could be depression, which I also have, or also deal with daily. This poem is entitled The Beast. My eyes open, the day falls dark, and I'm at war with the beast I defeated yesterday. No one can see the wound tightly wrapped in the dried, blood-stained linen underneath my breastplate. No one seems to care, having their own battles to fight and their own wounds to mend. From the muddy depths, I lifted up my sword towards the heavens, swinging with the mighty strength of the gods, cutting the belly of the beast, merely wounding him before he retreats. Yes, I know, another round is imminent, and tomorrow is only hours away. I will rejoice and rest till then. Thank you. I do want to acknowledge that we are on stolen land, and I just want to pay tribute to the elders, indigenous peoples, and the different tribes. This next poem is entitled Tap, Tap, Tap. The winter sunrise creeping through the darkness lights my room gently. Soft shadows now illuminating the spot on the dresser where I lovingly placed your photo. The birds are chirping, although I only hear silence loudly. Looking blindly within myself, pulling the thoughts from my mind, I stare at the motionless ocean of words I can never say. Boldly stating the understated quandary of how complicated a simple life could be, leaning on the edge of a futureless past and trusting hope for tomorrow. Without stumbling through today, I search for questions and for answers of peace of mind. With clarity at the window, tapping, tap, tap, I hear chirping birds singing praises of a life without a care. I watch astutely, I admire, I envy of how free they are as they swiftly fly away. leaving a lesson, an idea. I recognize that I too can live like the chirping birds do. So no more am I stalled in the futureless past, with tomorrow promise held hostage, as today rapidly ticks away with the aroma of life shifting, sifting away the stench of regrets. Thank you. I wrote this next poem after a terrible event, and and I titled it "The Children." I lay awake thinking of the children taken by an unspeakable act on a day that was much like the one before, except for the darkness that came through the elementary school door. With loaded weapons released on buds, just beginning to bloom, taken by a madman, their lives lost as their bodies laid there in the classroom. Innocent, sweet babies, lives taken far too soon. The pain covers the nations, and tears stream down my face as raging rivers flow. We're looking for comfort and answers of why these precious 20 souls had to be the ones to go on a day that appeared to be much like today. Thank you. This is entitled A Reality Dream. Before he said I do, she whispered softly in his ear, "Caress me, darling. I promise I'll love you forever." Not knowing the gift of his sweet kiss would long linger on her lips, for forever had suddenly already passed. Sean Bell was murdered by the police on his wedding day. This poem is entitled American Learn from the Scars of History. I kind of revised it for this reading, but it's found on YouTube with pictures behind it as well, background pictures. So if you get a chance, please check it out. And also, I like to honor Juneteenth, so this poem would do that. Looking back and knowing where we've come from, at all the obstacles that have been placed in our way, the hangings, the torture, even the many mysterious killings of some makes me wonder how I'm even alive, sane, and here today. I will not be quiet, nor will I ever forget the stories my parents and grandparents told about the sacrifices our ancestors made. Not that long ago when they were captured, chained, shackled together, then shipped across the ocean, far away in a stockade. Even if they try to silence me by cutting off my tongue and my ears, my eyes will always tell stories of their precious fears, our stories and our fears. Fear of being stripped down naked, tied while stinging lashes are thrust upon our rears while questioning the existence of God ever being there, and making us pray that God was here and wishing with all our might that this old life's end was near. With wide eyes, filled with festering hatred, coming from all directions closely gathered did they band, by the blazing dirt with babies in their arms and youngest held tightly by the hand, screaming and yelling as they dragged me by my feet, delivering my reckoning while still I weep. And as she was forced to spread her young, trembling legs as we cried, pleaded, and begged as we bled. My beautiful brothers and sisters, we are the proud descendants of those who were treated worse than barren dirt, whose fathers and mothers were beaten, bought, sold, and traded. There are no words that could describe the magnitude of our hurt. Everything about us, they told us, was hated. Slave owners didn't care about separating an African man from his family. They were only concerned with their own satisfaction, status, and their wealth. To them, we were all just a commodity. They didn't give a damn how we felt. Slavery, a human being owned by another, In these United States, land of the free America, America, I will not be quiet, hold my peace, or get over it. I take our nation's horrid past, present, and future very personally. You see, my great grandfather's father, Peter, was born enslaved. With the value of $538, he was appraised, listed Negro boy on the inventory sheet of slave owner Allen T. Overby, recently deceased, then bequeathed as property to another slave owner, and I condemn and shame by not mentioning the name to whom he was released. At the tender young age of 7, Peter was separated from his family, peeled from the loving arms of his weeping mother Jenny, snatched, shirt soaking wet with the tears of his brothers, Frank age 4 and 2-year-old Joe. Did Peter ever see his family again? Years I've searched, and it hurts to say, I still don't know. Slavery, poison heirloom, passed down from one generation to the next generation, beginning at birth. Forced, they lived an entire life with very little or no hope at all in sight. There are no words that can adequately describe and no words to excuse our hurt, no matter what they say about slavery. It just wasn't right. Slavery and Native American genocide are just two of the deep scars in American history, doused in blood and tears, which evokes painful memories with significance too important not to hear. So America, please learn from these mistakes and don't lose sight before it's too late. Understand any action fueled with hate, white supremacy ideology, fear, homophobia, sexism, or racism just isn't right. America, will you please learn and not lose sight? Killing our Black men, women, and children, making policies, laws, and degrading systems designed to put and keep Black people and people of color down in poverty, depressed, and in prison just isn't right. Attacking our capital, jeopardizing our democracy, making it harder for people to exercise their right to vote just isn't right. Now, if this idea of America being truly the land of the free, then liberty, justice, and equality must be inclusive, including people who look like you and me. Thank you. Now, this is the poem that I am very, very proud of, that's in this book that Maggie mentioned. And it's on page 54 for anyone who wants to read it. It's called Thoughts of a Mongoose. It's a metaphoric poem, and the premise being gossip. It's about a street I used to live on a long time ago. Thoughts of a Mongoose. And I'll read it directly from the book. Beware of the poison that's found in the whispering meadows of the flowering lies. Restricted by hovering hills, closely watched by luminous skies, the spreading of daffodils and seed of dandelion, naively playing wild games of nature tamed only by design, mused by the sun's bright rays, a reflection unkind. Clouds waltz their way, shadowing the trap of the mischievous thoughts of the mongoose prey, as persnickety as the wind blows the perfume of danger and escape the harvest spray, while baby monkeys cling tightly to their mother's lap. Raging river rapids continue to flow down towards the valley, where mouths continue to flap. Thank you. Thank you. And I want to end with this one in honor of my dad. I love both of my parents so much, and they both were very instrumental in me being me. So I thank them. As the moon shines through the evening darkness, the air hits heavy even on the thickest layer of my skin, awakening my heart that beats rapidly within my chest. I am reminded I am alive. As tears trail down my face, I remember the smiles and laughter of happier times when Dad would take us all in his arms and make us all right. God, I wish he was here tonight, alive and well with me. as I look at this beautiful moon shining so bright. Do you wonder about tomorrow or regret the day before? Or do you smile in gratitude? I like to think in times like this, tomorrow I'll still be here, but the truth is, I don't know when I too shall depart. So tonight I will enjoy the moon as it awakens my consciousness and warms my heart. Thank you. Thank you so much. And now, before perhaps Maggie, I don't know if this is okay with you, if we ask.
Yes, it's fine with me. I know what you're going to ask.
If we ask, oh my gosh.
Meryl.
Meryl, if she would please read now, and then that would give me time to look at your bio and introduce you. Okay, so Meryl, we're going to ask you to go ahead and unmute, if I can.
Okay, mine is very short. Okay. I'm going to try and share my screen. So I'm a writer and a photographer, so let me know if you see this. You guys see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is for Copper. Forget me not, pink belly imprinted with spots, like a cow rolled over stretching, always ready to be rubbed. Hearts etched in fur where white meets copper at the crown of his head, in waves down his back, as pads protecting paws. Paws patter down the steps, walk around and around the block, trot beside me on the bike, gallop up and down the hill. Black nose points upward howling, off key with me and my harmonica. Or at the cat about to poop in the yard, then presses gently against his bowl. Limbs fold comfortably in any position, monitoring the neighborhood, dozing in the chair, basking in the sun. Goofy smile for those he adores, greeting children, friends, neighbors who gravitate to his sweet soul, or with a speedy wag at the very tip. Ears shaped like diamonds, soft and smooth as velvet, that I continue to stroke even in my sleep. Big brown eyes that blink. I love you too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very nice. That was for your dog?
Yes, he passed in May.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Before I introduce Maggie, I do have one more poem that I would like to say now, and then I'll save the other one for later. It's called Butin, a poem of love, loss, and life. And it's about the loss of a pet also. As I stand alone with my dreadful thoughts of living without your love in my life, I ask myself, from where will the strength come? And will the emptiness in my heart heal? Loudly in my soul, your breath echoes still. Perfectly your beautiful body lie, lifeless, colorless, I bear not to hold the mortal who has been my true beloved. A motionless moment lasts many hours, standing, looking intensely at your face, conversing as though you would answer me, making promises, asking forgiveness, relentless to God, I plead my case, but only silence there enters this place. Thank you. Okay, and now, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Maggie Bloomfield. She's a therapist, she published poet, essayist, performer, Emmy Award-winning lyricist for Sesame Street. She has 2 chapbooks, Trains of Thought, published by Local Gems in 2017, and Sleepless Nights by Finish Line Press. And that was published in 2020, and I have that book and I love it. And that's available on Amazon. Her plays include Breakout, And that was written and performed with Susan Dingle. They performed it for the East End Fringe Festival in 2017 and the Dispatchment Society. Great play. And that was chosen for New York City New Works Emerging Artists Festival. And Maggie, of course, is the wonderful co-host of Poetry Street and the assistant director. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the woman who makes me look good every time, Maggie Bloomfield.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you. Welcome all of you. It's so good to be here. And again, there's so much to celebrate. The most important thing, I think, is Juneteenth. And my first poem is actually a recently discovered poem about slavery written by a slave in 1786. The poet's name was Jupiter Hammond. He was born a slave in 1711 and worked for the Lloyd family of Queens his whole life. Educated, he wrote and published an essay on slavery, which was discovered in 2013 in the Yale University archives by a professor and a grad student named Julie McCowan. And this is his essay on slavery. And it goes like this. Our forefathers came from Africa, tossed over the raging main, to a Christian shore, therefore to stay and not return again. Dark and dismal was the day when slavery began. All humble thoughts were put away when slaves were made by man. When God doth please for to permit that slavery should be, it is our duty to submit till Christ shall make us free. Jupiter Hammond.
Go to the line.
No, you can hear the first one.
And as for me, I just returned from a wonderful trip to the Pacific Northwest, to Washington, where I visited my very dear friend, Susan Dingle. And while I was there, I was reminded, mountains move me. Even mere stratigraphic ridges, flat-chested imitations of Mount Kilimanjaro's perfectly formed peaks and valleys, plunging and rising. Riding my mother's lap in early childhood, or sitting across from her at the kitchen table, I stared at the graceful crevice just above the buttons of her ubiquitous house dress, where hill met valley. I longed to know what lay beneath, what mysteries lurked in that darkness tunneling away from sunlight. I often gazed out my bedroom window at the Alleghenies looking back at me, modest but solid. Whatever secrets lay in those shadows, I would always feel safe. So when I was a grad student in writing at Stony Brook, Southampton, I developed a character, an archetype of sorts, named Miss Alabaster, and wrote a series of short poems about her. It's a series. I'm just going to read 3 short ones to you. The whole series is called The Hues of Miss Alabaster. Miss Alabaster had a great terror of flying. Knees and elbows cracked in flight, and dresses blew over her head. Planes and birds shrieked gleefully at the surface cracks and geese's quacks. In the stratosphere, there is little to say and less to do. Nothing, nothing to eat. She swallowed cirrus, spat out cumulus, blew past the sun in the ocean of her eyes, and laughed at God and the baggage handlers. White remains her favorite color: pearl, teal, ivory, scarlet. She is quite the world traveler, if there were some place to go. 2. When the chartreuse-shelled hickory nut fell on her head, Miss Alabaster thought, I am concussed. She traveled to Disney World in a rainbow-striped taxi, where she floated over Space Mountain and skated into Xanadu on a lilac stallion, nourished on bars of guilt. Reveling in her reflection, she bangs her noggin each morning with a toasted cashew or pale macadamia. 3. Miss Alabaster climbed a charcoal water tower and went for a swim. The licorice laps exhausted her. Burgundy otters were friendly. The creamy beavers were not. Surviving on a fluke and kindness of goldfish, she scarfed the occasional tadpole and nurtured the indigo sea tortoise, who gave her a ride home despite the failure of his GPS. Swimming keeps her constantly at sea. Thank you. Another course that I took at Stony Brook, Southampton was we would go to museums and various sites in New York City and write ekphrastics, poems about the works of art or feelings about the work of art. And my favorite was the Judy Chicago China plate exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum. And it did inspire a poem. This is the plate. I hope you can all see it. Can you all see it? Okay. And this is the poem called Owning It. I named my child Vagina before I actually knew what it meant. I thought it sounded nice, like Virginia. When I learned about Georgia O'Keeffe and Judy Chicago, and finally something about my body, I tried to change her name, worried about what savage children would say as their sensibilities interfaced with those of my glorious daughter. I rushed to the courthouse to change the name in 2nd grade, but she demurred, proud of her unique moniker and unafraid of her peers. Vaginas are a lot like tulips, Mommy, she said. I like my name. Indeed, people got used to calling her Vagina. They loved the moonbeam clarity that emitted from her cornflower eyes. Wherever we went, friends and neighbors called out, "Hi, Vagina," or "You go, Vagina." I grew to love the name as much as I love her, though I must admit I had a little problem when she named the dog Vulva and the cat Clitoris.
It's hilarious. Love it.
Okay. Well, you know, we talked about all the things that we have to be proud of. I have a lot to be proud of in Pride Month. This poem is, its title is a definition. It's called Translation. To cross over and interpret. There is this slightly altered transmutation that transfixed our focus for a time and transmogrified into a reality that transferred to us like a transistor pulsed electrical signal, so that a couple of mature adults transitioning into geriatricdom came to learn that the life of their presumed son had always been transitory, and that through medical and psychological process called transgendering began to transform into Emily, our trans daughter, a transsexual whose sadness and translucent skin finally made sense and definitively translated. She transversed biology and biography of transatlantic proportions to transpose misery into joyful transcendence, which ultimately transported us there as well. Okay, I have another poem. I think probably everybody in life has a recovery from something. I certainly do, for many years, and I'm very grateful for it. And this is a poem. It's called Note from Recovery to Alcohol. Wish I didn't love you so. Wish I didn't know, you know, it wasn't passionate volition sent me on this sober mission. I wish I hadn't loved the party, how wondrously the night would start. We were wardrobed to the nines, out for cocktails, maybe lines, but as evening hours wore on, somehow all my clothes were gone. Or I found myself at Chumley's, toppling off a stool and dumb. See, lengthy blackouts left me senseless, eyes wide open but defenseless, whacked and helpless to escape from some idiot with rapier wit. It seemed to me, always certain he would be the true lover man I sought. After all, the guy had bought me 47 Cutty Sarks, 100 lines of blow. So whatever he suggested, that's the place we had to go. It was usually a dump where we'd lurch and buck and thump till the neighbors banged the ceiling, and I passed the evening feeling nothing. Stumbling home at morning, harried. Did I mention he was married? When I think how little sense in the face of consequence, I continued till I couldn't. Decades later, and I wouldn't pick you up for any reason. So it seems a little treasonous admitting what I know. Wish I didn't love you so. And I have two more poems. The poem I'm going to read now is the first poem I ever read at Poetry Street. So it seems fitting. It also relates indirectly to recovery. Oh, say we could all so clearly see the beautiful, spacious red sky at morning. Be warned. Blackbirds screeching, preferable to the fucking pissed off, hissed off blue jays, so proudly hailing the twilight's last dulling through bliss, blunt hangovers, bangovers, what's supposed to be a working Tuesday. Like anybody except Jesse could tolerate the number 7 to work, wondering how the iPod crowd across the car manages to do this every single day. No proud hailing as the kaboom shatters her prefrontal cortex and limbic longs for amber waves of Jack Daniels. The honey residued Coke spoon remembers the clatter of said spoon banging the syringe that mainlined Jose lying smack on the floor, dying. clack house that cracked pipes open when dawn's early light brought neon sirens. Neighbors busted Tyrone over the purple mountain's majesty of his girlfriend's left eye. Loud bitch finished his dope. Jimbo's dropped cracked crumb on all fours, crawling the carpet, a fruited plain of ecstasy. Bright striped starred club kids raving over Dumbo-eared plates of K. God shed his blue light on this brotherhood, neighborhood, garbage head, frat house, and rehab. Doing good for the man, teaching trade tricks from the mountains of meth and blow to the prairies of Oxycontin to the ocean white with dust. Liberty crowned with bundles, kilos, condoms, welcoming the trashed, tired, the hammered, poor, yearning to breathe. Thank you. And to close, I mean, thanks to recovery, really, I have much to be grateful for. And an enviable life, I have to tell you, especially for an old gal. It's been a pleasure to read to you all today. And the last poem I'm going to write is sort of a mission statement. I want to jump for joy. I want every day to be spring. I want new buds exploding each morning, a sunrise delicate as a bridal veil, a sunset fiery as St. Vincent, wonder that brings me to my knees. I want roses and hydrangeas in all my bouquets and dormant orchids to grin open. On rainy days, I want my hair to get soaked into Shirley Temple curls. I want my umbrella to be part of my dance with Gene Kelly. I want to bless my friends and my enemies, especially my enemies. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Maggie. You know, as always, you're incredible. And if you want more Maggie, she will be reading another poem or two at the end, as we always do during our readings. So now I guess it's time for our open mic. But before I start the open mic, I just want to remind everyone to please log on to poetrystreetontheroad.com. On that, we have a full season of 9 episodes of Poetry Street on the Road. We also have a film, and most of the episodes since we've been on COVID are also on poetrystreetontheroad.com. Today, I posted the Black History Month celebration on the website, so please check it out. And that is with Suzanne Cade, Helen Hickenbotham, Coyote Lee, and Lois Moses. Incredible show that was. So please check that out, poetrystreetontheroad.com. So now it's time for our open mic, and we ask that you please leave your opening off, because you only have 3 minutes, unless you can get the opening in with your poem as well. So you have 3 minutes to read your poem. We ask, if you would like to read, that you please put your name and the location in the chat so I can call on you. Okay, so first up, I would like to call Denise Colonosphus, and I'm sure that I messed up her name, and I hope that she forgives me and correct me. Are you there? Okay, she's on the phone, and she's first on my list, so we're gonna come back. Hi, Denise.
Hi, yes, hello.
Hi, great,
I'm
thanks. I thought we was gonna have to come back, so I'm so glad you're there. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from New York, Long Island, Massapequa.
Okay, well, we're so happy to have you. Please tell us about your poem.
Okay, well, my poem is called, it's also about a deceased dog, my dog Gigi. So I'm going to read that poem.
Sorry for your loss.
Yes. Oh, this was a long, long time ago. She was a beautiful collie, mixture of collie and shepherd, and we loved her very much. Okay, it's called Gigi. Lathering at the sides of your mouth, your tongue curled at the tip. You smile and let out a half bark, black and white collie and shepherd. You were a soft mass of long fur, always excited to see us. You run up, cry out in dog laughter. Hello, glad you're home. You jump on me, loving me, breathing, lapping my face. But those darn claws had to be clipped. Mom was afraid to do it. Your big body could not grip the stairs. Your appetite was enormous, and you begged for leftovers. I love you, I love you, I love you, you'd say. Your tears welled with saliva at the foot of the stair when we lead you down in the basement. Otherwise, you'd have torn right through the plastic covers on the living room furniture. How long did you bark, waiting for our return, trying to get up the stairs, the door locked, your hind legs giving in from arthritis? Then you'd hear the key turn and smell us. I'm down here. Come and get me, please. I love you, I love you, I love you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And please come back. We at Poetry Street every last Saturday of the month. So we look forward to hearing you again.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask Adam Fisher to please unmute and read his poem. Hey, Adam, how are you?
Hi, how you doing?
Good. And where are you from?
I'm from Port Jeff Station.
Port Jeff Station. Great. Thank you.
This is a fourth poem in a series of poems I wrote about feisty girls, and they all have a color attached to them: red, electric blue, purple. This one is entitled "Golden Blossom," and it goes this way. Ruth, a freshman at Riverhead College, wearing its gold and green sweatshirt, played flag football with the guys in her dorm. She was only 5 feet, never saw 100 pounds on a scale, black hair, green eyes, skin that could appear in a beauty ad. In a word, gorgeous. The guys were all big, 5'10", 6 feet, 180, 200 pounds. When they chose up sides, she said, I'd like to play. They picked her last, but soon realized she had sticky hands, could catch anything, and run. She could outrun any of them. When she confronted a player who wanted to grab her flag, she stopped, ran furiously in place, yelled, "Come on, sucker, make your move." As soon as he lunged for her, she dodged him and ran into the end zone. After the game, her team carried her on her shoulders to Jake's, the only bar in town that pulled beer in pints. The losers paid. She drank. As they were breaking up, a blonde fellow who stayed close to her asked her out. She said, "Thanks, I'm flattered, but I'm really just here to play. I have a boyfriend back home."
Oh, how cool is that? How cool is that? Okay, this next lady I'd like to introduce, she is amazing. This lady writes so much poetry, it's insane. Her name is J.R. Turek, by the way. She is the author of 24 and 24. First of all, she writes every single day a poem, at least one. For 24 hours, she commits to writing a poem per hour. for 24 hours. Now, how neat is that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've bored you enough. Now I will ask Judy J.R. Turk to please unmute.
Thank you, Chip.
And tell us about your book.
Oh,
Your books.
it's just a cool thing. Last year's, and it's such a pretty color. Last year I participated in the annual 24 and 24 poetry marathon, where you write one poem an hour for 24 hours. I loved it so much, loved every poem I wrote, that I published them. There's actually 26 poems in there, so it's very poetic. I'm lying already. There's one I wrote from the day before and one I wrote a few hours later. Loved the process, loved looking at how it functions, how I write without thinking too much. And so today is that day. And so on AOL for a little while, delighted to be here, delighted to hear Chip and Maggie. Thank you both. What a wonderful reading. Thank you for the inspiration, because I had 17 to go when I started. Now I have 16. So thank you. And still writing. And so this was the poem I wrote right before I clicked on. It's called Zoom Frequent Flyer Miles. I'm a world traveler, learning time zones and date changes before, after midnight. I Zoom from poetry events to seminars to writing workshops. I've even gone to a baking class, all from my desk chair. I've booked more miles in virtual time than in real time. One Saturday afternoon, errands done early, I Zoomed into Dallas at 3 p.m. my time for a live event with Joy Harjo, the U.S. Poet Laureate. So inspiring. At 4 p.m., I raced off to Riverhead, a town on the east end of Long Island that I've been to once, maybe twice in my lifetime as a Long Islander. And so glad I got there virtually. So good. 2 hours later, a quick click off to Boston before they locked the Zoom door at 6:15, and lucky to be the last open mic after terrific features. I clicked off at 7:55, refill my vodka tonic and make a run for it to Zoom to Kansas for a book launch for a Midwest Poet Laureate I read with a few years ago when he visited Long Island. 5,330 miles in 6 hours. No plane tickets, no airport drive, no rent-a-car or hotel room, no bad road food, no taxi or Uber, bus, no lines, no waiting. No way I could do it without Zoom. I've been to several stops in Britain, to Amsterdam, so many states in the United States, I've lost track. A few stops, I didn't know where I was, and it didn't matter. It was all amazing. I've made friends, kept several, been inspired, delivered inspiration, spent quality time with kindred spirits. And from a sideways perspective, I am grateful for the pandemic, for these experiences. I'm hooked, Zooming from now until midnight, my time forever. Thank you.
Thank you so much. 330 miles. Wow. How many poems do you think you've written? You think you've written that many?
I've flown 4 times in my entire life, so.
Oh, how cool is that? Okay, so our next poet is someone that I am just so excited about. Her name is Lily Crowder, and it's her first time here, I believe. Lily, if you could please unmute. Oh, hi. Hey, Lily.
Hi.
And just so you know, we can only see you from your glasses up. So if you could put your camera down, that'd be great.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
My
that's better.
generation, 85 years ago. Okay. I want to thank my friend Janice for telling me about this today. This is my first time. I'm not really a poet. I just like to write. But I have 2 pieces here if I have time.
Yes.
One I was inspired to do when I learned about the discovery of the African burial ground a few years ago.
Right.
So So I wrote this. It's called These Dry Bones Await Your Discovery. Beneath Earth's ground in fertile soil lay artifacts of yesterday's infractions, compelling dry bones of my ancestors' whisper. Resting is the reward for the time I've toiled. Look upon these dry bones, all covered in dust. Search for the real me, but do not yet touch till others can look upon and beyond the sandy husk and discern how conditions were for many former us. Find those treasures buried 6 or more. Unearth and assemble those relics piece by piece. For the elements which comprise our previous lives will reveal truths of how our ancestors lived and died. Hush, hush, and amnesia have held facts at bay about our kinfolks and relatives of yesterday. Research alone can't substantiate that which some say, but these whitened bones of ours tell of that which the history books won't convey. Snatched from the motherland with no goodbyes, transported and nameless we laid parallel to the sky. Lost were 76, maybe many more who left home alive. The count was less than 25 when on the shores we arrived. Look upon these dry bones so that you might see who I was before and perhaps who I was before me, from whence I've come. In the class of my family, you might find that the DNA connections renders all of us sisters and brothers upon further inspections. Forgive me, this is my first time.
That was really nice. You know, you are awesome, man. We love Janice, and thank you so much. You have another one, right?
Yes, if it's okay.
Yes, thank you.
I went to my homecoming game a few years ago, 40 years later. And so I wrote about what I found 40 years after leaving home. I reflect on my beginnings. I stood on the shore at Myrtle Beach to behold the splendor of the sea. I assessed the spirit of its most awesome force as it howled, come hither to me. I appraised the extent of its boundary and marveled the purpose of its being. I basked in the touch of the sand against my cheek. I reflected on how in the distant past, upon this beach shore, I once could not be. I absorbed the essence of this breathtaking wonder and accepted its supremacy over me. Overwhelmed by its magnitude, its enormity and volume, I closed my eyes in respect to acknowledge the resplendence, to acclaim its magnificence, and indulge in the knowledge that this Palmetto State Beach, Myrtle Beach, is now available to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lily. And say hello to Janice for us.
Thank you.
All right. The next person up, I would like to ask our founder, one of our founders of Poetry Street, Bubby Brown, to please read for us. And hi, Linda. Thank you for helping them. So, ladies and gentlemen, Bubby Brown.
Good afternoon, everybody. This first poem is for our new holiday, Juneteenth, and with the liberation of slavery in America. And America has a very unique way of making things that they have done not as bad as it really was. And I think that it's important that when we talk about slavery, that we always say chattel slavery, because chattel means property. It means ownership. It's property. A house can't be chattel. Land can't be chattel, but anything that's movable, a dog, a cow, a slave that's chattel is property. And it means that you're less than a whole person. So as General Gordon Granger came into Galveston Harbor on June 19th in 1885, that right? June 19, 1885. And he came in, and the reason that Juneteenth came to be was because he came in with at least 20,000 troops to enforce it. The people in Texas knew that the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed, but they had no way to enforce it. So, Juneteenth, the walls of life have taken flight. No chains or twine could bound it. Look out and see, we all are free. Halos of joy and ecstasy surround it. Inhale the peace you've been denied. Feel freedom's steps, embrace it. In an amber glow, hesitantly I go. Ah, this feeling, I can taste it. Where, oh where will my path lead? What is my final goal? Still I hide at night, keep out of sight from those who yet hate my soul. Sweet freedom comes with a heavy price from those who've been in command. Shed bitter tears from hundreds of years being considered less than a man. My chest tries hard to contain this feeling bursting inside. Don't know what to do. This feeling's so new. I think they call it pride. It's the beginning of a long, hard journey. Will I live to see the end? Will I have to fight all day, all night, deciding enemy from friend? We know there'll be many a battle. Each one will be worth fighting for, against poverty, for equality, for I see a long, bitter war. Can't wait to tell my children of slavery's horrid pain, so they will know and never go back into that hell again.
Wow.
Hey, Chip, can I do one more?
You sure can.
All right. This one, in this social climate that we're living through now, I have some heroes that I like to bring to surface. And one of them is Colin Kaepernick from the NFL. Colin Kaepernick. I had to pay so dearly. Didn't take you very long to rob from me my successful life. And all of you were wrong. I told you time and time again, but you refused to see. You twisted, lied, demeaned the reason I got down on one knee. How many folk who resemble me before, during, and after arrest suffered police abusing ways and sent to eternal rest? My kneeling said it had to stop the violence you chose to ignore because there was no public outcry. 'Twas a license to do it some more. My protest cost me my life's work, my chosen gifted career. But now it laid bare American hypocrisy. Stop it, get him out of here. Had there been a public outcry, a chance to maybe save a few less people crying out, voices from the grave? Would George Floyd could have caught his breath? Sandra Bland had a story to tell. The hypocrites didn't want her to say what really happened in that cell. Trayvon Martin and Freddie Gray, Breonna Taylor, Michael Brown, victims of an American hypocrisy in many of America's towns. In the paragraph of this era, Mr. Kaepernick wrote the first sentence and hope it raises questions in us of American repentance. Colin will never ever regain what he's lost over all this time. The pity is he paid a penalty and never committed a crime. Be careful when choosing your allies. Errors sometimes cause us to grieve. The truth will always be the truth, not necessarily what you believe. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow, you better say that. The truth is the truth and not just what you believe. That's right. Truth is the truth. Yeah, you got to tell that to some other people that don't know what's going on.
Thank you. And welcome home, Maggie.
So next we're going to have the other founder, the other brainchild of Poetry Street, Susan Dingle. Hi, Susan. Susan's calling from Washington. Tell us where you are, Susan, and tell us about your beautiful view.
I am in Washougal, Washington, and my view is Mount Hood and the Columbia River, and you are all invited to come. Thank you, Chip, and thank you, everybody. We always said, let your poem speak for itself, but I'm going to take the liberty to tell you, this is a first draft, so it sucks, but I want to read it because, just because. This is a sonnet on Juneteenth. Each year at Juneteenth, the fifth graders at Pulaski Street in Riverhead describe in a diary entry what it is like in Galveston, Texas on June 19th, 1865, 3 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, to find out you, a chattel slave, are free. And so they write, fifth graders at Pulaski Street in Riverhead, that diary entry, some in pencil, some typed or in crayon, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Baptist, Buddhist, atheist, straight, gay, lesbian, transgender, wannabe, about having a picnic, leaving a plantation, looking for that family sold away. And each year, a committee of Black elders from the Riverhead community chooses the prize-winning entries 3 years before the government of these United States declared Juneteenth a holiday. Now, I'm going to take a liberty here. And
Take your liberties.
I will. I'm going to read a poem called Witness, a Poem of Conscience. And it's based on a documentary that was made about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That was a documentary that was made by a white videographer. 1. Long before the bushes where the sniper hid were cut down, long before the eyewitness was murdered and people near the Lorraine Motel never interviewed, long before the officers guarding you were unexpectedly sent home a half hour before you stepped out on that balcony, you knew what force you had irritated, what sleeping karma had been stirred when you spoke out against the war. When you said people think of peace as a result and war, the crude chisel, as a means to achieve it. Instead, we must do something creative to arouse the conscience of the nation, get rid of our pride. The so-called trial of the century took 1 month. 12 years ago, your family and a few close friends present for the verdict that representatives of the covert services of the United States government did knowingly conspire. Part 2. 40 years later, in a country church on this June evening, we see you with your arm around your son, prophesying about what the effect might be when a leader is assassinated. Let us not pretend we do not recognize what awakened when you won the Nobel Prize. 40 years later, we witness what the cameraman saw, your face in that moment. He filmed that interview. After the screening, the cameraman speaks about conspiracy. I see tears brimming in his eyes, as if the last thing he wants to do is talk about conspiracy, a conversation that might spoil a lovely evening by making the white people in the audience uncomfortable. 3. I will visit the website MLK versus US government and see the transcript of the trial. Bushes cut down, guards sent away, people in the vicinity never questioned, an eyewitness murdered after he said what he saw. What is still unfinished is how I will respond to what I have seen and who I will be having seen it. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Susan. And thank you so much, you and Bubby, for founding Poetry Street 8 years ago and entrusting it to myself and Maggie a year ago. And we are doing the best we can, and hopefully we make you proud.
It is such a great honor to see how beautifully you all are continuing this. It is such a gift.
I love you, Susan.
Yeah.
Okay, so next we have Karen Schutte.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this wonderful venue. I'm going to read a poem called Summer Ice from my book, Where Desire Settles. We were always together come summer in the White House on a sloping hill in a village no longer there. Days when all there was to do was gather around the kitchen table, 5 small children in mid-morning glare, fine dust gathering overhead, while my Aunt Esther's manicured hands whisked milk, eggs, and sugar in a bowl until thickened, the cream round and deep, ready for the freezer until pure vanilla ice cream iced for our spoons to scrape the surface, soft enough for the tasting. Even the white liquid melted on the bottom was scooped into our mouths, sweetly thickened. It rolled off our tongues to our lips and chins, much of it on clothes and fingers, weighing us down until we collapsed, became anchored in spirit and bone, slept like the children we were, wrapped in our own measured breathing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wow, we have Maria Anderson on, and she's going to bless us with something extraordinary, I'm sure. Maria Anderson.
Hi. Sorry, I'm late. I had a previous engagement. I'm not ready. June 2014. As I'm reading my first shared poem, Scared Out of My Mind, I search for your soothing blue eyes. You're visiting from Arizona, and I haven't seen you in 8 years, but it feels like no time has passed. I finally find you, and an instant calm comes over me. You smile and wave. When I'm done, you're the first one to hug me, your calming voice wrapping my soul in a hug. October 2019. All of the air left my lungs in one single exhale. 2 seconds ago, my perfectly intact world crashed and was swallowed by unimaginable pain. I have to go, unsure of where, anywhere but here. My soul hurts. It's destroyed knowing it will never feel you again. But I just got you back. It isn't fair. You were supposed to stay with me. Stop. I love you, Mommy.
Stop.
I love you too. It isn't fair. You were supposed to stay. I know it's selfish, but I can't stop it. June 2021. I'm once again reading a poem where it all began, but this time there are no blue eyes to comfort me. The time passing has been hard. I gather everything I can to keep you with me. Your soul in essence yells from my shelf where you sit in a black and gold urn, surrounded by Fabergé eggs and various items I collected from your house. Your voice telling me to keep going, confined to a bear I made at a workshop. The menorah I got you and various pictures from your house now decorate my small apartment. Everyone thinks I'm handling it well, but the truth is I'm not handling it at all. I'm desperately clinging to your things, hoping one day you'll ask for it all back. and my world will once again be intact. I know it's selfish, but I wasn't ready to let you go.
Thank you so much, Maria. And thank you for not making me cry this time. Appreciate that. Almost there, but not quite. Very good. Thank you so much. Robert Dean, I am so looking forward to hearing you speak.
I guess I need to unmute for that.
Yes, please.
I'm going to try the share screen option here that Meryl tried earlier. Let's see.
Yes, yes.
Can you all see that this is a very difficult photograph to look at, but and I had known about its existence for a long time, but I decided I need to write about it. This poem was actually written a year ago and appeared in an online journal called River City Poetry. So can you all see the photograph there?
Yes.
Okay. It's pretty well known. It's in fact, a friend of mine who's an English teacher said she had used this photo in her class many times, but had not really realized the impact of it. So anyway, the photograph is called Whipped Peter from 1863. The poem is titled The Last Slave. Who sold first, who purchased, African, Portuguese, does not matter. What matters, the spidery history, this man's back, still with us after all of these years, centuries. White knees on black necks, nooses hanging, NASCAR garage doors, kneeling, standing. Oh, say, can't you see? Doesn't matter if the heart is not in it. Yours, mine, ours. Feel the beating, bear the load, cry the tears, cut the chains, free at last. The slave, the last master. This matters. Oh, say, can't you see? I have a dream.
Powerful. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate you so much. Nina Yubel is going to be our next speaker. She's on Poetry Street on the Road, episode number 3. If you go on our website, poetrystreetontheroad.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Nina Yubel.
Hi, I'm Nina. Thank you, Chip. This has been wonderful. Everybody is so good. I tell you, it's really amazing. I love this place. It just feels like home. It's great to see you, Susan. These are some old poems. They're really short. I just came across them and I kind of like them. The Little Buddha. Like a little Buddha, belly button exposed, I trace the outline of the flower, wondering how its parts have come together, feeling both pistil and stamen, while one ear strains for the bumblebee. Goldenrod. You look at the unsheathed earth, see dried stalks of corn, feel mud under your shoes and curse. I see the goldenrod in 40 shades of gilded brown, soar with those gulls through skies of Bible light. But you're the one who comforts me in the thick dark of night. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you so much, Nina. I appreciate you. Next week, we're going to ask one of our features for next month, Bernard Hicks, if he would please read for us. He's going to feature next month along with Doreen Spungen. All right, so Bernard Hicks, tell us where you're from and a little bit about yourself and read your poem.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm from Harlem, New York, live in Queens at the moment. Looking to transition to Florida sometime in the future when retirement age comes upon me. Personal trainer, I have a sports officiating company. I referee basketball, football, different sports. And I love poetry, writing scripts. And I absolutely love meeting people and hearing other people's thoughts, their backgrounds, and how they live their life in contrast to how I live mine. So I love the beauty of hearing other people's messages as well as what transformed their messages. So, and I'm happy to be teaming up with Doreen, who will be carrying me on her back next week. And I so look forward to it. That this will be my first feature. So I'm pretty happy to participate. Okay, with that being said, just a few words about the poets that came before me this afternoon. As we see, Maria was actually showing off how she can balance the duties of motherhood and poetry at the same time. So that's only a few probably of her talents that she's balancing. And also Miss Judy Turek. If the Incredible Hulk and the Flash were a poet, it would be Judy Turek.
And Wonder Woman.
And Wonder Woman, there you go. And Wonder Woman, exactly. And Miss Maggie, your poetry hit me in the gut like a Mike Tyson left hook. It was really, really powerful. And last but not least, to Chip. If I had to describe the genetics of your voice and your tone, it would be like combining wine and a harp spoken over a rainbow.
Oh, wow.
That's how I would describe your voice and the way you read. Is really, yes, it
wow.
Takes over. Beautiful, beautiful.
Bless you.
This poem I wrote this poem reminiscing on true life events that shaped me and my thoughts. The title of this poem is Just Saying. Is it okay to feel good when others are experiencing pain? I want to love all my brothers, but there's always a brother like Cain. Sometimes smiling will be difficult, laughing will be hard, belief will be questioned, truth will seem far. You say it to yourself, knowledge is power. Let wisdom be your rain. It will produce educational flowers. Be smart beyond your years, but try not to grow up too fast. Sometimes live in slow motion to make the good times last. Long days in church, listening to the rev, mind drifting, waiting for the time to go. Part of the Harlem Community Choir, recording a song with John Lennon and Yoko Ono. My Harlem streets, my Harlem blues. At an early age, learned how to fix and shine shoes. Kept money in my pocket, in church with my envelope, paying 10% to dues. The stoop was my community, where neighbors became friends, from playing tag and the stoop being home base, part of where my story begins. I'm outside playing, I'm kidnapped at the age of 5. Little boy missing for hours, little boy found alone, safe and alive. Sometimes I don't know how to sleep, don't know how to weep, don't know how to feel about getting old, don't know how to feel about those who have lost their soul. Be solid, the Bronx-born Jesus, the Harlem-raised Moses. Streets, one of my teachers, is where I wrote my thesis. Street tests are hard, no study guide provided, no graduation date ahead. Please pray for the misguided. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for that truth. Thank you so much. Okay, I want to get our next feature for next month. Doreen Spunyon, please read. Doreen?
I'm here.
Great.
Okay, so first of all, I already told you and Maggie, I'm so grateful that you invited me to read next month. But I
We're
want
the grateful ones.
but I want to tell you how beautiful both of you are. The readings were powerful and touching, and everybody else here. I mean, this is what you've heard from everybody. This is one of the most magnificent places to come for poetry and for community. So thank you. Okay, I'm going to read a poem from my book. Because of what you opened with, Chip, about stolen land, I picked this Thanksgiving history song. The tires are balding, yet I ride into town. There's a loaf of bread needed for this annual feast. My 20 friends and family have walked miles to greet and join in a moment of joy. The natives bring seeds and fruits and lessons. They teach us their ways. We plan to kill them and take what is rightfully ours. We don't even know we're Americans yet. Casinos of the future will redeem, pardon, unburden us, as school children will fall under the spell of Hollywood. It will be years, years after the casinos and cheap cigarettes when truth will dawn at the sight of smoke signals. We have been too busy being right and triumphant. All the school books have been edited. Someday, a red man, a black man, a yellow man, a white man will laugh at the foolish bravado of the child Americans who played cowboys and Indians, cops and robbers while robbing natives, giving them a bad name, a bad costume, a bad reputation. And the movies glorified murder, and a turkey died for our sins. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doreen, and thank you so much for the kind words.
I would like to do one short one called Juneteenth because.
Oh, go right ahead.
Right here.
Thank you.
And I wrote this a year ago, before Juneteenth was declared a holiday. Tonight I am tired and with shaky hope. The evils of racism run deep. This world spins on uncaring. New laws may not bring sudden metamorphosis. Perhaps any light that shines, no matter how dim or tentative, will bring transformation. Perhaps future generations will see equality. In the meantime, keep going, keep hoping, practice acceptance of one another, share laughter, turn from empty language, keep moving to a better way, teach love, embrace the good, don't give up. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Doreen. And again, Bernard and Doreen will be our features for next month here at Poetry Street. The last Saturday of every month, we have Poetry Street. And if you would like to be a feature, just let us know. Okay? All right, so our next poet up will be Gladys Henderson.
Hi, everyone. Oh, what wonderful reading. A fabulous reading today. And thank you so much. And it's so good to see you all. You know, I decided to read a poem by Maya Angelou. And oh, how I wish that she had seen Juneteenth come into being. Oh, how I had wished that. But it wasn't, I guess, to be. But this is a poem, you know, we've come a long way. We have a very long way to go. And if you go online, you'll see a lot of people talking about what this means, but you'll have to figure out what it means. This is Caged Bird, or sometimes it's called I Know Why a Caged Bird Sings, by Maya Angelou. Caged bird. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The cage bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the cage bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze of the trade wind soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on the dawn's bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a cage bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The cage bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the cage bird sings of freedom. Maya Angelou.
Thank you so much for reading that poem, and she's definitely missed. James Horn is going to be our next poet. I'm going to ask him to go ahead and start unmuting himself.
Okay, does that work?
Oh, yes, it does. So we have
Oh,
him
good.
back.
Finally,
Ladies and gentlemen, James Horn.
Tell you what, I'm living here in Bolivia, Washington, and it's a golfing community. and I wrote this poem to honor the golfing world. It's called Be a Better Putter. Was with naughty iron, that is a 9, which some say has become benign. That ball seemed slow as molasses, did need to take a few more classes. From whole golf course would be cut, had played never learning how to putt. Should see each scratchy, terrible scar that I received for not making par. Received setback and a major mishap. Ball again did end up in sand trap and occurred a complete catastrophe. Drove my hard ball from a tee into a tree. To avoid all trash along with the clutter, wanted to try and buy a better putter. From terrible putts, ended up insane. On golf course, my golf bag does remain. Over.
All right. Thank you so much. And everyone, I actually requested that poem from James. And happy birthday, James.
Thank you.
Yes, happy birthday, James. And I would have you tell us how old you are if you're not shy, but you're looking great, and we really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so Kathleen Donnelly, if you would please unmute and read us a poem and tell us where you're from.
Hi, sorry about that. Chip, nice to meet you. I don't really know you. And Maggie, this is a wonderful venue. So thank you to the two of you for putting this together. I have a poem that I wrote contemplating a big change in my life because of deciding to retire. And that's a pretty weird thing to do, actually, after working very hard, very long in the same place. And it's called Dark. It only happens in the dark. It was windy, that I remember. I could hear the rustling of dry leaves and distant honking of geese littering the sky. They seemed to own it. I was lost in thought, thinking of the past, what to let go of, what to keep. The sun was leaving its day like a bride's veil trailing behind her. And it was then, only then, I felt my soul cry out, what it needed, what it yearned to know. I wanted that desire to be subdued by the moonlight, its brightness sift through my eyelids, distract me from my night dream. And then it came to me, what I dreaded, what I needed to hear. There are things I will never have, never know, not in this lifetime, not this time around. I have come to own this. The night dream reality thought, can't let it consume. Somehow, it all has to be okay.
Bravo, bravo. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Mindy Kronenberg was one of our features in, and her tape of her recording of Zoom is also on the website. Or if it's not up yet, it will be very soon. Mindy Kronenberg, would you please read for us?
Oh, thank you, Chip, and thank you, everybody. I put a note that all these poems are inspiring and fortifying, and this is the paradigm we want for the future. We got Juneteenth, for God's sake, in our lifetime, and we have 8 years of Poetry Street. You can't do better than that, my friends. It is a delight to be here. This is a slightly different direction. This was written in the form of satire. If you're familiar with some of the nonsense word poems that came out of Lewis Carroll and people who were, and many of them were political satires and satires of highfalutin literature. I was inspired by the change of regime in this country. And also I started to watch press conferences again because they started to make sense to me. And one of my new heroes, Jen Psaki. So this is kind of an homage to her because she's a beast when it comes to those ominous forces that are still out there that would set us backward. So some of the language is kind of frilly and funny in that tradition, but this woman knows what she's talking about. Beware the Janasaki. 'Twas stuffy in the jabber's room. The scriveners all sninsy sneer. The scribblers scribben the look of doom, darkening each puss and blog spot veneer. Beware the Janasaki, my kin, the flaming hair, the lasering eyes. See how her podium nearly spins as she scrumptious post-Trumpus slays their lies. And how they tried to trip her tongue, the words squeezed sideways through their masks. In indubitable breaths, she always clung to the Truthian blurbs from her cranial flask. And one and two, the scribbler's scratch and croaky voice could not withstand, not match the sacky snicker snatch, as each would load a racist hand. Wild went their fangs and claws, the desperate queries shot from miles, but our creature knows the laws and lingo from the pale domicile. And hast they slain the Genesac? The pachyderm army was QAnon plussed. Covfefe day, they rolled on their backs, and our beauteous beast grinned, unfussed. 'Twas stuffy, and all the snarks knew she's biding her time for another round. All flimsy were the wackadoos, their malarkey shattered upon the ground.
How fun was that poem? Sasha, Sasha, tell us where you're from and please read a poem for us.
Wow, what an extraordinary afternoon of poetry. This is just wonderful. Thank you so much. I really feel privileged to be sitting here this afternoon and reading a poem. I'm from Jericho, Long Island.
Nice.
So
before you read your poem, tell us a little bit about the artwork behind you.
Oh, well, that's essentially that's a poster, and it's a Matisse poster, but because I couldn't afford a Matisse, so it's the poster. But I do like it very much, and I enjoy having posters and lithos and artwork that reflects families, women especially. So I've had that on the wall now for many years, and I love it, even though it's just a poster.
I love it too, and I love being invited to your homes and your living rooms and everything. I feel like that we're all in one big room with just different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is in my kitchen.
Thank you so much, Sasha. Go ahead with your poem, please.
It's just a joy to see so many familiar faces, Judy and Gladys and Doreen. Sometimes and Kathy, it gets pretty lonely. I live alone now, so it's wonderful to see these familiar faces. This is just a poem called Life. What is it like? Like Sunday, like rain, like footsteps, handshakes, like horizon, sunset, like desire, dread, like sleepwalking, like daydreams, like fog, like faith, rocking chairs, bed sheets, like bread, dusty roads, nameless trails, like silence, shadows, crystal skies, like sparrows, swans, like hope, futility, like yes, no, like confusion, clarity, like purpose, poems, like fact, fiction, like nothing, everything, like storms, loneliness, like laughter, like commas, periods, question marks, like desperation, madness, holiness, ordinary days, like drought, floods, like wine, water, like watching, waiting, like rising, falling, like spinning, spiraling, like gasping, grieving, like weeks, months, years of long goodbyes.
Powerful. Thank you so much, Sasha, and we look forward to you being here next month. Okay, so we're gonna go with Branka's iPhone. Branca, tell us where you're from and please read for us. Can't hear you.
I'm unmuting.
Okay.
Hi, it's Barbara. I
Barbara.
put my name in the chat, so it's Barbara Branca. Barbara.
Oh, okay. All right. I see.
And I love you,
Brancas.
Maggie. I just don't know
okay.
you, Chip. So this has been such a beautiful reading today. I'm very nearby. I live in Shoreham. I'm like 20 minutes from like the Blue Duck Bakery.
Oh, awesome.
So thank you for this opportunity today. Unfortunately, Kelly Powell just left a few minutes ago. And this is a memory poem that I wrote from a prompt by Kelly a couple of years ago. And it just seems very appropriate for today. It's called Town Without Poetry in Motion. Fort Bragg, North Carolina, 1962. The officers are planning the Bay of Pigs invasion. They worry about the new Berlin Wall. Their daughters are relaxing at the officers' club pool. One is lying on a stiff, too short towel, concrete spiking sunburned skin. It's me, a self-conscious brunette in a black one-piece, in a row of bikini blondes with tanned, flat stomachs. They play Gene Pitney's hit over the loudspeaker. The young have problems, many problems. We need an understanding heart. The boys hang on every gesture from afar as blonde ponytails tease. How can we keep love alive? How can anything survive when these little minds tear you in two? I feel cold despite the Carolina heat. Where are the Black officers' daughters? I know they live here too. The Army base is integrated, but the junior high in Fayetteville is all white. Bikini blondes were okay saying the Lord's Prayer in school, but not me, not Joellen Fleischman, who just looked down at the floor. Oh, it isn't very pretty what a town without pity can do. The loudspeaker now booms Johnny Tillotson. Poetry in motion, dancing close to me. A wave out on the ocean could never move that way. I sway off the towel and dance into the pool. Try to swim back to New York, if only. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. Okay, so is there anyone else that would like to read that have not had the opportunity to read? Okay, Colleen, are you ready? Okay, she's not. So I'm going to ask Maggie if she would come back and yes, Colleen. Colleen Beckton. Tell us where you're from and please read your poem.
I am in Brooklyn, New York, and you are all in my kitchen. My poem is called The Value of Twizzlers. The lunchtime treat in the schoolyard, on the long journey home, after school, the stretchy, long, rubbery, strawberry flavored, artificially colored sweetened treat, devoid of any nutritional value. The treat intertwined with memories of my youth, moments of joy and pain, excitement and fear, mushed together in a fog of haze as the present dulls the memories of yesteryear. Is it the Twizzler that gives flavor to the memories, or the memories that add flavor to the Twizzlers? Twizzlers flavored with chocolate, licorice, strawberry, changing shapes, changing packages, changing prices, shifting values. Twizzler groups who gather to eat Twizzlers, a bit frightening, seeking value in the emptiness of a treat with no nutritional value, longing for a taste of yesterday, reaching into the past for comfort and solace. What price a Twizzler?
Awesome. I love poems about food and dogs and cats and flowers and everything. That's just so awesome. Well, we hope that you've enjoyed yourself. Maggie Bloomfield is coming up next. And I'm so excited to see what else she has under her computer.
Okay, this is a short one. If I were a gun, I would be a revolver. I would revolve, rolling and rolling and rolling through the land, gathering damaged souls into my chambers. Waiting in each chamber would be a poem, one of repair, one of love, one of nurturing, one of hope, one of light, one of compassion, one of forgiveness, one of inclusion. I would spill my chambers onto green grass by a clear stream, and we would all take up paper and pen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. By the way, speaking of paper and pen, I wrote this one entitled In God's Hands. God's hands covered me when it stormed, guided me throughout my journey, held me when I was lonely, protected me, and hid me from my enemy. Where am I? I'm in God's hands, and in God's hands I am. Even when it's dark, even when it's cold, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's hard, I'm in God's hands, and I know I'm safe. Everything is going to be all right. I know this, God's got us all in his hands. Thank you. And once again, I just want to invite everyone to please check out the Black History celebration, which featured Helen Higginbotham, Suzanne Cade, Lois Moses, and Coyote Lee. It is now on our website, poetrystreetontheroad.com, and it is out of this world. You know, so it's great that you get to experience today and then go home and click on that link and watch the Black History celebration with these incredible Black women. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate those who came to Poetry Street for the first time. We love you and we invite you back. Maggie, would you like to say something?
Just thank you, everybody, for being here. Tune in next month for 2 more wonderful poets. All of you are gifts. Thank you.
Thank you. Be safe and be good to each other and yourselves.